So hello everyone, this is Elias again with the new video. This is a benchmark video for the client's build number 2, the one that we have done a video for, the water cooling setup, the Corsair 900D. As I promised, here are the benchmarks of this system. So I have prepared the Asus Sandra benchmark results here. I have done a full test here, so it's comprehensive benchmark including the CPU benchmark. As you can see here, all the information about this 5960X CPU, maximum speed that it was running at, the maximum power that was using. So as you can see, it's quite power efficient. The multimedia test that I have performed here as well, so you can see megapixels per second here, more results, .45 gigaflops, and more memory bandwidth. So it's Intel Xeon Haswell-E grade CPU, as it says here. So you can indeed compare it to Xeon CPUs. That's okay. The memory speed, here you can see the result for the two GTX 980s that we have on board, two Asus RX cards. As you can see, total power consumed is 330 watts from both cards, and the speed, how many units does this has to do with PC lanes, I guess. More results for the GPUs, how many gigaflops, so they can deliver 505 gigaflops together. The bandwidth, I have 64 gigabytes per second bandwidth, memory capacity is 8 gigs, and here's the overall score of the system, which is 36,000 points. Different information here about the memory latency, and performance versus power, so you can have an idea performance per watt, how it is compared, capacity versus power result, and performance versus speed. So it's cores and megahertz, overall score here. Alright, so let's get to another test. Let's do a Cinebench test, which is very good indicating the CPU performance. So let's do a CPU test. Right, it's loading. So it is an 8-core 16 threads CPU running at base 3 GHz and boost at 3.5 GHz. We're using a water cooled setup here, two custom radiators, and it's a high quality water loop, and the CPU, even under load, never surpassed 33 degrees. So as you can see, we get 13.6 points, 1363 points for this test. it's not an overclocked CPU. It's running at stock speed 3 GHz. So you can see how it compares to the dated CPU, the 3930K CPU. We can also run an OpenGL test. Project is being prepared. Here we have. OpenGL is mostly for graphics card, I guess, and AMD cards perform usually better in these tests, so I guess NVIDIA cards fall behind in this kind of test, but we will see. Leave it to finish. After we finished building this PC, we have done many tests on it, and since it's a very complicated system running PCI Express drives and water-cooled setup with multiple radiators, more than 10 fans, SLI graphics cards, monster CPU, 32 gigs of quad channel memory, and RAID 0 Samsung SSD drives, and system performs beautifully and delivers huge amount of performance. So we get 104.10 frames per second for the OpenGL test. Now let's do a 3D Mark test. First we can start with Firestrike. See how it is. So it's trying to load. Okay. It's taking some time. The operating system is running off the PCI Express Mushkin's Scorpion Deluxe 240 gigs SSD drive. So compared to RAID 0 SSD drives, it performs beautifully at 2 GB read and write speeds. So here is the Firestrike. As it seems, we get pretty decent result here. Looks good. I'll leave you to enjoy the video. So we have the graphics test 1. Let's see how we're performing it. So we get around 90 to 100 frames, over 100. Test number 2. Okay, around 60, so it's jumping from 60 to 120 frames per second. Looks pretty smooth. Okay, second one is also done. Going to the test number 3. So it's around 50 frames per second in this test. Pretty decent. And combined test. So as I said, this is the 2011-3 socket CPU 5960X running at stock 3 GHz with a boost speed of 3.5 GHz, running on Asus Rampage 5 motherboard with Corsair's Vengeance 32 gigs of memory running at 1133 MHz, and 2 Asus GTX 980 graphics cards. So as we can see, we have 15,274 points here. Graphics score is 19,762. Physics score is 15,623. And combined score is 5,582. So you guys can compare it to your scores. Seconds. Application from connecting to the internet to validate the results. So we have all the information here. Graphics cards running latest driver from NVIDIA. Okay. Save it. There are some more details. If you're interested, so let's see another test maybe. to the demo. Let's try the ice storm. How it is. What are the results that we get here? The ice storm. Okay, loaded fast. We get around 800-900 frames per second, so it's astonishing. 1000 frames. Please bear in mind that the application that we're using, the action screen capturing software, also uses some of the resources of the system, so most probably the results would have been higher without this application running. But even though we don't have these, physics test. So we get 122,000 points here in this test. We can also run this skydiver test just to see how it performs. Then there is one last test I wanted to show you with AIDA 64 just to see the temperatures. How hot does the CPU run when we stress it? We get around 150 frames in this test. Pretty decent. I'm not gonna overclock the CPU or the GPUs, because with such a system usually you don't need to overclock. You have the headroom, especially with the cooling, but I prefer to run everything at stock, just to preserve the real world results, because there is no need to have the system running, especially 8-core 16-thread CPU running at too high frequency without the need, because this CPU is all about hyper-threading, multitasking, rather than running at higher frequencies. There is almost no application that would use this CPU's full power in any case, so it's magnificent, future-proof, with 20 megs of cache. Absolutely astonishing. Very expensive, yes, but I think it's worth every penny if you have the money to spend on the CPU. The physics test. Start falling apart. 100 frames per second. 30. Combine test. and here we get 39,000 points for this test. Graphics score is 64,351, physics score is 15,291, and combined score is 24,119. Okay. So that was the 3D mark, and I also wanted to show you the temperatures in IDA 64. So let's load this tool just to have an idea how hot our system will run. Just, you know, for your information, I'll start the CPU ID, CPU Z software, just to show you all the information about our system. So you can also see it here. CPU, motherboard, Asus Rampage 4, the memory is 32 gigs, BIOS is also up to date, running the latest 0802. You care about it. Windows storage, so these are all the drives that we have. Intel RAID volume running to Samsung 850 Evo drives, RAID, Mushkin Scorpion Deluxe, PCI Express drive, two GTX 980s. Here we have the CPU Z information, you know, 22 nanometer CPU, LGA 2011 socket, running at lower multipliers now to save energy because this CPU is very efficient. So we have 8 cores, 16 threads. We have 20 megs of L3 cache. Some information about motherboard, memory, running at lower frequency, but I've seen it running at over 3 gigahertz. So this is dynamic and changes all the time. Here is the standard information and graphics cards, nothing special here. The graphics cards, but anyway, let's get to the test. Run the stress tests. The CPU, as we can see, it got to 100% straight away. As far as I can see from the OC panel of Rampage 4 motherboard, the CPU is running at 31 degrees, 30 degrees now, even under 100% stress. But let's leave it for some time to see how it's gonna perform. So it's stress testing the GPUs. Here we can see the cooling fan speeds. There are 11 fans, so we're not gonna see them all here. Let's see some voltages. 12. So nothing special since we have not overclocked the CPU. Everything running at stock. So we can see draws 100 watts. We can see the clocks. CPU clock running at 3.5 GHz. Maximum boost speed. And here we have all the temperatures. So maximum at 42 with ambient temperature is around 22 to 23 degrees. So average, as you can see, is 35, 36. So it's very, very decent. And voltage is also under control. We can also start the AI suite from Asus. Just to see some more information. Okay, close some applications to free up some resources. Well, as far as I can see, the temperature is rising a bit, but still not past 40 degrees. All running at 37. The overall CPU temperature, as far as I can see from the OC panel, is 34 now, 36, 34. Not rising much. It needs some time to, get higher, but with other CPUs, for example, with the Ivy Bridge CPUs, after reaching some certain level, 100%, the CPU temperature was going sky high. But with this CPU, the thermal design is very well laid out, and it changed. So the plate covering the chip itself is different than the design is different than the one used in Ivy Bridge, so it's more thermal proof, nicely laid out, I guess. So you can see that it's still pretty low and running under 40 degrees. It's been running for 5 minutes, and I believe it's not gonna change much. Maybe a few more degrees, maybe even if it gets up to 50 degrees under 100% load, it's more than great, I guess, because this CPU is designed to run at 90 degrees Celsius, so even more. So these temperatures are fine. Okay. Let's see the statistics again. Still the same temperatures, running 38, 36, 37, 38. So as I said, it's not gonna get much higher. This is the temperature that we run it. And in real world situation, you will never run this CPU at 100%. Apart from the cases if you use all threads, for example in your Adobe Premiere or another application that you set to use 100%, then in those cases yes. But for you just to have an idea how cool this setup is and how important is to carefully lay out your water cooling, it's important to have enough radiators. Make sure that they are long enough. Make sure that you use proper fan to cool those radiators, because if you use the standard fans it will not work. You need to use static pressure fans to maximize performance. Okay, I'll stop it because there is no point in running it further. I have done this test last night for over 1 hour and it never reached 40 degrees, but the ambient temperature was around 20 degrees, so the CPU was running idle at 22 degrees Celsius too, as you can see here. Okay. Stop it. And straight away the CPU temperature dropped to 32-33 degrees. Okay, it's dropping really fast. So gonna close this test. Here is the panel from Asus, so you have an idea about the CPU temperatures and speeds it runs at. Also, it's nice tool to check because it's nicely laid out. The information is dynamic, so you can see it in real time. The power consumption as well, so it's showing 9 watts at the moment, 12. And we're using a Corsair's AX1200i power supply, so we have more than enough power to power up the system. And if you remember, the GPUs were drawing, both of them, around 330 watts. So with the CPU running at 140, we're using only around 400 watts. No, 500 watts. So it's not even reaching the limits of the power supply. Well, I guess that's it. If you remember anything else, just give me, comment it down below. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to my channel for more videos. And thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye bye now.